You are live.
Thank you. Good evening and welcome to the August 3rd, 2022 Henrietta Town Board meeting. Please call the roll.
Councilmember Safranek?
Here.
Councilmember Bolsner?
Here.
Councilmember Page?
Here.
Councilmember Belanca?
Here.
Supervisor Schultz?
Here. We'll begin with the silent prayer followed by the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes of the preceding meetings?
Mr. Supervisor and fellow board members, I make a motion that we approve the minutes from the July 13th, 2022 and July 27th, 2022 town board meetings.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Safranek?
Aye.
Councilmember Bolsner?
Aye.
Councilmember Page?
Aye.
Councilmember Belanca?
Aye. Supervisor
Schultz?
Aye. First up, we have a recognition resolution for an Eagle Scout.
Mr. Supervisor and fellow board members, I have resolution number 18-241, 2022. Whereas Nathan Zuber has achieved the rank of Eagle Scout in Boy Scout Troop 750, and whereas to achieve that rank, Nathan has earned merit badges in 43 disciplines, including aviation, citizen of the nation, helping him earn bronze, gold, and silver palm awards for his merit badges. And whereas during his time in Scouts, Nathan held the positions of patrol leader, assistant patrol leader, and senior patrol leader, as well as den chief for Cub Pack 332, and in the process received special recognition for the mile swim, snorkeling BSA, and the National Outdoor Achievement Award for camping. And whereas Nathan is entering his senior year at Rush Henrietta, where he is a member of the volleyball and tennis teams, a member of the mastermind and chess clubs, and is a member of the National Honor Society with plans to pursue a degree in the business side of culinary arts. And whereas for his Eagle Scout project, Nathan constructed a Gaga ball pit behind the Rush Library and constructed in a manner so that it was ADA accessible, no small feat for a Gaga ball pit, and made it more challenging still in the light of the supply chain issues created by the global pandemic. Therefore, be it resolved that the Henrietta Town Board joins the Pinnacle Lutheran Church, sponsors of Troop 750, in recognizing the achievement and honor of Nathan Zuber in attaining the rank of Eagle Scout.
Oh, am I second?
Yep.
Second.
So as I always say, when we read these, it really makes you feel like a slacker. The work that these Eagle Scouts do, for those who don't know, it's a very small percentage. I believe it's less than 5% of all scouts make it onto Eagle. My son's actually going through it right now. The amount of work he puts in, the amount to get those merit badges, it's an amazing amount of work. And then they go on and do the Eagle project. And again, Nathan's was particularly challenging. If you don't know what a Gaga pit is, it's essentially as the name sounds, it's a pit, although usually it's actually up. And it's a game played with your feet kicking the ball. So it has to have sturdy sides that can support people's weights. Oh, and by the way, it has to be able to be ADA accessible, and it was built on Rush Town property, is why it has to be fully ADA accessible. And then again, we had the whole pandemic induced supply chain issues, and he got it all done. So amazing work. And these, like I said, just always amazed at the kids, both the Eagle Scouts, when we do the Eagle Scouts and when we do the scholarship recipients.
So I will say that I was at the Rush Town Park a little while ago and I did see the Gaga pit. And my granddaughters were asking me what it was. They thought it looked kind of fun and interesting. So great job and congratulations. It's just amazing at your age, that you've accomplished so much. Can't wait to see what happens in the future.
And Nathan, you can't find a better item to put on any resume that you'll ever write than Eagle Scout. So be proud of that and good luck in your future.
Yep, and I would imagine having gotten a chance to be his varsity coach in 2 sports and also his teacher last year. He's pretty much written his letter of recommendation right here for me for next fall. So I'm very thankful for that also.
Congratulations, Nathan. It's just such a huge accomplishment and such a inspiration, I think, for so many other young people that are in the Scouts now.
Any comments from the public? And hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Safranik,
Aye.
Councilmember Bolzner,
Aye.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Belanca,
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye. So again, congratulations. First up, we have special use permit application number 033 Core K9 Training. This application was withdrawn by the applicant, but if anybody wishes to speak with regards to this application, we will hold the public hearing in the event that they do reapply, although I do not believe they are going to, but just in case, is there anyone here who wishes to speak regarding the Core K9 Training at 2199 East Henrietta Road? As I understand it, the business owners have decided to move out of state, and so in the not too distant future, so they didn't want to start a new business venture and then move. Hearing none, then I'm going to close the public hearing for special use permit application number 2022-033. Next up, we have special use permit application number 2021-009, Rochester Corner Group, 1100 Miracle Mile Drive. This is to reapprove an expired application, was previously approved because of the long process in getting through the state for what they have to do. They unfortunately didn't notice that they had their approval had lapsed, and so they've come in for it to be reapproved. Representatives, please introduce yourself and your relation to the project.
Good evening. I'm Ryan Destro from BME Associates. Here with me tonight is Ryan Brandt from Rochester Cornerstone Group, as well as Ryan Kadaf from Rochester Cornerstone Group. So you have 3 Ryans with you tonight.
Team Ryan, huh?
That's right.
So as mentioned, we are here tonight seeking reapproval of 2 special permits for the Marketplace Senior Apartments project. Just to give a quick recap for everybody on the board, on March 24th, 2021, the town board did issue 2 special use permits, which were required for the proposed 4-story, 155,000 square foot, 150 unit residential senior housing structure. It's located for reference, in the southwest corner or portion of the Marketplace Mall property. It's the L-shaped building. It's in the lower left corner of the Marketplace Mall area. It's located to the south of Miracle Mile Drive, just west of the Sportsman's Warehouse, and it's in the former location of the Marketplace movie theater, for those that remember that. The first special use permit issued was to allow a mixed use development within the mixed use redevelopment area overlay district, MURA. That is the Marketplace Mall property. And the second special use permit issued was to allow the construction of the senior housing component itself within the mixed use redevelopment area overlay district.
Just one moment. I don't know that we need to renew the mixed use one, because some mixed use development has occurred.
Okay.
So I think we only need to renew the one that is for the
Senior housing.
because that project did not get started.
Okay.
So
That makes it.
because U of R has been doing some medical, the medical development there. And other work has been taken. Basically, as long as a building permit is pulled within the 1 year of the approval, that stops the clock. So it's only the approval for the senior housing.
Okay, thank you for the confirmation. The senior housing or the Marketplace Senior Apartments project did receive site plan approval from the planning board on May 18th, 2021. We did receive a 6-month extension of that site plan approval in April. So we do have site plan approval. Just as mentioned inadvertently, the expiration dates for the special use permits were missed. And that's therefore a reason for our appearance here tonight. The applicant, Rochester Cornerstone Group, represented by the fellow two Ryans here with me tonight. They've been simply waiting for their funding from the New York State Housing Agency or Housing Finance Agency, HFA, prior to the start of their construction. Funding is anticipated towards the end of this year, hopefully. And once received, then construction would commence thereafter. The project has not changed from the time that the special use permits were issued, as well as when the site plan approval was granted. Therefore, it is our understanding that the seeker negative declaration issued on March 24th, 2021 remains valid and that no further action is required pertaining to seeker. We did provide copies of the special resolution or special permit resolutions to this board, as well as the corresponding application materials for those applications. So with that being said, we'd be happy to answer any of your questions.
Yeah, I'm not aware of any material change in the site or anything that would trigger any kind of need to reopen seeker. We obviously knew about the U of R facility and all the, the other stuff that's been going on in the area. So I really don't see any. I assume everybody agrees. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't see any need, but I am looking for it. I think it's a great project and much needed in the community, especially right now. So.
Yeah, one of the things I do hear a lot is that, one of the biggest needs in the housing market is affordable senior housing.
Yeah.
That, as seniors want to downsize, and especially, one of the things that's been very unfortunate with the real estate market is even the small homes are going up tremendously in value. And that shifts the burden as to, which portion of essentially how the taxes are apportioned amongst the people. It doesn't change the amount collected, but it does change who pays what portion. And that's problematic. I've reached out to Albany to let them know that this is happening. If it's happening in Henrietta, I'm sure it's happening all across the state. And so having some affordable options for those people who, would like to move to an apartment, because the other thing that's happening is rents are going up.
Yep.
And so having that affordable option for residents is, like I said, it's one of the things I hear the most in regards to the housing market. So any other questions, comments? Anything from the public? Then fellow board members, I move that we approve or reapprove the expired special use permit application number 2021-009 Rochester Cornerstone Group 1100 Miracle Mile Drive for a multifamily senior or affordable housing for 4-story plus or minus 150 unit senior housing structure.
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Safranek,
Aye.
Councilmember Bolsner,
Aye.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Belanca,
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye. So again, congratulations. And for if New York State continues to drag its feet and we get to the end of this expiration, let's get it done before, when you won't have to come back here. But
For clarification, will this be for 1 year or 6 months, or what is the
I
extension?
don't remember what our code calls for. I think this, I think, is 1 year because we were here at the hearing. If we were to do the extension when you came in, I think we can extend it for 6 months.
Okay.
But this is essentially a reapproval. This is an extension. This is a reapproval.
So
So
it's
this
good
is
for
1
12.
year. And so, sometime next July, if you still haven't gotten, you'll be beating your head against the wall.
Right.
But I will say, we're 4 years in, I'm still waiting for funding from DASNY for something that was approved in 2018, so. But anyway, yeah, then we can extend it in 6 months and 6-month increments without having to go through a public hearing and an application, so, okay?
Great. Thank you very much. We
Again.
appreciate your time.
Yep,
Thank
thank
you.
you, and we look forward to you being able to get started on this.
Well, thanks.
I guess I should have closed the public hearing for special use permit application. Next up, we have a public hearing for a proposed local law to establish chapter 121 of the Henrietta Town Code to regulate fires and open burnings. This is a continuation of the public hearing. We had made some minor to a little bit more than minor changes to the proposed local law, so we continued to hold the hearing open. The local law doesn't introduce much in the way of new legislation. It actually just there's 3 major organizations, I guess you can call them, or government agencies that regulate open fires in the town of Henrietta, and that is the New York State fire codes, the New York State DEC codes, so environmental conservation codes, and the Monroe County health codes. And the problem is people don't know where to find those codes. We get asked a lot, what can I and can't I do in terms of having a campfire or a bonfire or a barbecue pit, those kinds of things. People aren't aware that there are sometimes no burn days, things like that. So the code essentially references those because we realize they could potentially change. What we've said is that the more stringent of the two, if there's ever a conflict, the more stringent of the 2 codes is what applies. The only thing we added, we've had some problems with a couple problem residents who have bonfires going day in, day out to the detriment of their neighbors. And so what we did add was essentially a maximum repeat rate, for lack of a better way to describe it. And that's where we had changed the language. We decided to make it to a 6 hours in a 24-hour period. Because part of the thing is you had this language in terms of, if you say 6 hours in a day, well, then if somebody starts burning at 7 o'clock at night and burns till 5 in the morning, well, it's 5 hours the one day and 5 hours the next day. It's 10 hours straight. That was over what we were looking. So we rewrote it to say 6 hours in a 24-hour period. And there were a couple other minor wording cleanups to make it clear for folks. The thing I note in terms of people ask, well, what if there's my kids have friends camping over and they want to do the campfire in the backyard. Again, that's allowed. You can do that a number of days. So campfires are 2, bonfires are once a week from a frequency standpoint. The difference between the 2 is the size of the fire. It's the amount of fuel involved. Now, if somebody says, well, what if they're there Friday, Saturday, Sunday? If you got kids over and they're not being obnoxious, they're not gonna, it's never gonna trigger a call, right? This is again intended for the individuals who are problematic. Some people say, well, could we go to 3 just in case? The problem, if you go to 3 to then violate the people who are problematic, we have to catch them in 1 week. We would have to catch them 4 times burning, because the 3 legal and then the 4th illegal one. So it becomes very problematic from a code enforcement standpoint. One of the other things we talk about in it is that if you're going to have that situation, come and let the town know. I'm gonna, my son's in Boy Scouts and he's gonna have some of his scouts friends over and they're gonna camp out and they're gonna, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, they're gonna have campfires. We'll sign off on it, not a problem. Again, that's not what this frequency is trying to do. It's the person who just is constantly burning.
And that's only open pits, so
Correct.
a fire pit or,
A chimney, a pit that has a grate over the top of it, any of those that are not an open burn. Those are not covered. Obviously barbecue grills are not anything like that.
So one thing that we had discussed was not putting the link, but rather creating a hyperlink.
Correct.
And it says online hyperlink, but it's not actually hyperlinked. The actual link is in there. So
That's because we have to give that to Ecode 360. They're the ones who actually put it into the
gotcha.
code. So,
Okay. All right. So that's directions to them to
Correct.
put it as a hyperlink.
Yep.
Got it.
yeah, so basically we didn't want to put the hyperlink in the actual text because then to change the text, we would have to have a public hearing and change the law. If it's just a hyperlink for the text, then they can correct it. It should, New York State relocate where their link for the DEC, the DEC rules or the fire rules. But like I said, we're trying to make it so residents can easily figure out what they can and cannot do in terms of burning. So. Any other questions, comments? Anything from the public? Coming up,
Just one point that I wanted to clarify.
please hold
sorry.
on. So everyone, please wait till you're at the podium to start talking and begin by introducing yourself.
My name is Mr. Hirsch. Good evening, board members. Just one question with regards to these open fires. It's not so much about the fires, but when you're going to have a big gathering with 10 kids in a backyard camping out, there is a noise ordinance. So I'm assuming that the noise ordinance still kicks in after, I believe it's either 9 or 10 PM. I forget which.
This does not affect the noise ordinance at all, no.
So then if people are out there, even though they're having a fire, whatever it is, and even though they're within their legal bounds to do that, if they're making excessive noise beyond a certain hour and it's audible, I believe beyond the proper, I think is it 20 feet beyond the property line? I don't know what the town is, but if it's audible, then that would be a violation of noise ordinance, would it not?
I can't talk, potentially, yes. I don't, it depends on the situation.
That's
but
what I'm saying.
potentially,
If,
yes.
if in fact it's audible and it's keeping people up, that's my point.
Yeah, if it violates the noise ordinance.
That's
that would be a
what I
violation
wanted
of the
to know.
noise ordinance.
Any other comments from the public? Anybody online? Okay, hearing none, then I'm going to close the public hearing for the proposed local law to establish chapter 121 of the Henrietta Town Code to regulate fires and open burning. Can I get my second resolution?
Supervisor Schultz and fellow board members, I have resolution number 18-242, 2022 to authorize bills payable for July 14th, 2022 through today, August 3rd, 2022.
Second,
Any discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Safranik,
Aye.
Councilmember Bolster,
Aye.
Councilmember Page,
aye.
Councilmember Blanca,
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye.
Mr. Supervisor and fellow board members, I have resolution number 18-243, 2022 to authorize a request from Passero Associates on behalf of Park Grove Realty for a special use permit extension on a special use permit number 2020-023 to construct a plus or minus 120 unit multifamily community at Riverton Parcel E.
Second.
So one of the things I wanted to have a just quick discussion on is if we want to beyond this one, if we want to keep extending it or do we at some point we let it if they're indefinite as to whether they're gonna continue this, do we at some point let it expire and then they would just have to seek the reapproval? Similar to what just happened with the Cornerstone Group.
I think at this point, given that there's already been an extension granted, one extension granted, and that this extension is past the expiration date, I think I would personally prefer to see them come before the board again and seek reapproval before it's approved another time.
Yeah.
Third time? Would that
A
be
third time, right, yeah. Yeah, I tend to agree. I don't have a problem issuing this one, but at some point, I think, like I said,
I think the nature of the neighborhood even is
Right.
changing over there, that there's some developments that are going up now that were not in consideration at that time. And I think it may at some point even affect seeker.
Mhm.
Is this the first or second 6-month extension?
Second.
I believe this is a second extension.
So if they took a year before they asked for the first one, this is a 2-year process already.
Right,
Yes.
that's why if you.
That's
notice-
why I think Millie's point is well
Yeah,
taken.
oh, I agree. It's 2020. That's why I wanted to bring it up. I didn't want to surprise them with a rejection now. I just want them to know this is probably the last extension we're going to do. Now,
2 years is enough.
we may change our mind 6 months from now, but I want them to at least be forewarned that
Yep.
this is probably the last extension. And then, again, they would basically have to come in for reapproval.
Yep.
Any other questions, comments? Anything from the public? Anyone online? And hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Safranic,
Aye.
Councilmember Bolster,
Aye.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Blanca,
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye.
Mr. Supervisor, fellow town board members, I have resolution 18-244, 2022 to adopt seeker determination, issuing a negative declaration for the construction of a town of Henrietta Town Court facility.
Second. So for those who haven't seen the plans in the town newsletter, we hired an architect. Was actually a while ago. The plans kind of have been put off because of the pandemic and the supply chain issues. But because we did a strong job financially through the pandemic, we were still entitled to lost revenue compensation from ARPA. However, because we had lowered our expenses, we weren't really in debt. So essentially that roughly $4 million became additional revenue. And so our plan is to apply that roughly $4 million towards the construction of the new court. In addition, we recently sold our cell tower for an additional $1 million in revenue. And we had previously already approved the application of roughly $1 million of excess revenue towards the construction of the court. So for those who aren't aware, the town, we budget based on what we expect the revenues to be, and our revenues, there's obviously there's the real property revenues. There are the sales tax revenues, which vary depending on the economy. There's the mortgage tax revenues, which vary based on the real estate market. And then there are construction fees. Those are some of the largest. We also have a good amount of coming in from our recreational fees, except those all go to support the recreational program. So that's one of the things when you look at in the COVID year, we quickly realized what was going on and adjusted essentially we brought down our costs that were associated with those fees. So we lost the revenue, but we also lost the expenses. So So in the last few years, as the economy has roared back, the sales tax revenues have come in significantly above where we expected, which is why there was excess revenues above, essentially above contingency. So all told, that's about $6 million. We have some additional funds in building in capital projects, as well as depending on if the sales tax revenues continue to perform super strong, we may not even have to go out to bond on any of this. And I'm kind of getting into the next resolution, but you know, we want to essentially preserve that capability. Our goal is that we will bond a small enough amount so that the debt service on the bond will be less than the rent we are paying today on the court. And what that means is no additional taxpayer dollars from an operational standpoint will be going towards the cost of the court, unlike what happened with the library. The library, we bonded $9 million. The debt service on that bond represented a significant increase in taxes. That would not be the case here. So I wouldn't anticipate any increase in property taxes due to the construction of the court. I will note at this time, we also put $1 million of the past excess revenues towards this project. We also put $2.5 million of those excess revenues towards next year's budget to keep tax revenues or to keep property taxes down. So we've been doing both, applying the excess funds to help keep property taxes down, as well as using some of them to improve the facilities in the town. So that just gives you a kind of layout of what we're looking to do from a scheduling standpoint. We have an architect already under contract. They've done the plans up to this point. They refer to them as a 50% stage, which means that they're far enough along that you can do cost estimating from them. The construction manager from the lot who had done the library volunteered his services to get us the cost estimates for the new court. It's roughly $7.5 million, and we're estimating about $500,000 to remove the former town library. We think it's going to be significantly under that, but again, we'd rather budget high and come in underneath. And the reason we think it'll be less than that is because there is material recovery value in there. And so when we last spoke to someone about taking down the old library, they were very interested in all the metals, some of the materials, and even the concrete. They were talking about that they would take away in slabs, grind it up to make new concrete. That's what we're looking at from a schedule standpoint. Again, we'd have the architect put the plans together. We would then, to get to the ability to go out to bid, we would like to go out to bid sometime this fall or early winter. I would do it based on the recommendations of the construction manager as to when we are likely to get the best prices. If you remember from the library costs were higher than expected because we were delayed going out to bid because the land that was supposed to be donated for the library had some liens on it. So it was not unencumbered. It couldn't transfer until those liens were taken care of. That delayed us going out to bid for about 2 to 3 months and added between $500,000 and $1 million to the cost of the project. So we really want to get out. We want to have the stuff ready by mid-October so that when the optimum time comes to release those bids, we can go out to the market. Why does it make a difference? Because when companies don't have jobs lined up in the early season, they want to get someone there. They want to get those jobs to keep their people working so that when the busy season comes along, they're all set to go. So being able to have your project ready during that time, you typically get lower prices. Once their schedule is filled up, they'll still respond to the bids opportunities, but they'll come in at higher prices, figuring, well, I'm a bit busy, but if you pay me enough, I'll still do the work, right? We want to be in that earlier category where we are, where they're hungry and want to come in with more aggressive cost schedules. So any questions? Anything from the public?
Yes, Mr. Hirsch again. I didn't get to address this the last time. But what I'd like to know is, based on listening to you, Mr. Schultz, it's my understanding that the town has about $6 million put away already to go to bond. Is that correct? Or is that not correct?
Not to bond. We have, again, 4 million. It's not put away. It's actually a liability. We have to give it back if we don't use it for a use that's approved for ARPA.
I guess my question is, how much money is there actually there in actual money that exists to pay for, first of all, how much is this court building going to cost to build? When you talk about materials, labor,
I already answered that question, 7.5 million.
7.5 million. And out of that 7.5 times 10 to the 6, which is 7.5 million. How much of that do you have put away so far, if you use it, towards that 7.5 million?
I already answered that question as well. We have 4 million from ARPA. We have 1 million from the sale of the cell tower, and we have 1 million set aside already from past revenues.
So that's 6 million altogether.
That is already 6 million.
So as I understand it, at this moment, as of today, provided you don't lose the 4 million and you use it, right? That therefore that only leaves a net deficit of 1.5 million that's left.
Correct.
Would that be the amount that you'd have to go to bond on?
Potentially, I'm hoping to go to bond on less. In fact, I'm hoping to go to bond on none, because for every dollar you bond, it costs roughly $1.50 to pay it back. So the less we can bond, the better. But that's going to be dependent upon the what the sales tax and mortgage tax revenues are doing. The early sales tax revenues were high, but then the state did a gas tax holiday. And so any of the sales tax from gasoline will not be included for about half of the year. However, the projections are still that the sales tax revenues will exceed last year's. We didn't budget for them that high because last year was supposed to be an anomaly.
So would
apparently
this,
it's potentially the new norm.
so would the sales tax revenues projected, even if it's off, would that be enough in terms of even if you've underestimated that, would that sales tax revenue be enough to cover that difference of that 1.5 million that you're looking to bond out?
So again, I don't know what they're going to come in, but if they came in as high as last year, yes, we would have enough excess revenue that we would not have to bond at all.
And therefore, if that is the case, then as far as taxes are concerned on mortgage taxes or real estate property taxes on taxable assessed values, anything involving those issues, okay, there is no reason then to be dipping in to the taxes that are collected or anything else to pay for this, because according to what you're saying here and now, that's so long, even if the sales tax revenues do not come in as high as you might expect, there still is only $1.5 million that's
Correct.
left over that you'd have to go to bond, and that you won't have to go dip into other areas for. I would have to.
I've already stated that as well. That is correct.
I want to be clear, just so you know, okay, myself and Ms. Ruiz, we are vehemently opposed, just so you board members are aware, that's all 5 of you, vehemently opposed to the construction of any more buildings at whatsoever at the town's expense, which is at the taxpayers and the residents of Henrietta that have to pay for this. We are the ones that ultimately, well,
I just, if it was a net positive to the taxpayers, would that change your mind? Because at
depends.
the
That would-
moment, we're paying a significant rent
I
for
understand.
where they're
Yeah.
at. So long-term, it'll be a net positive for the taxpayer.
Well, Mike, here's what I'm saying. I understand what you're saying about, I know where Methodist Hill is. And I know that they're over there and I know they're renting that space out. I understand
It's
that.
pretty significant.
Right. And I understand that you're looking at this over the long haul, that it's better to have a permanent building. Just like owning a house in a lot of ways is better
Yeah.
than paying rent because you're throwing money away. So when you own the building because it's yours, right, you're not paying rent. I understand that. However, my concern is that people say basically that, okay, in the long run, it's less money because you're saving what you're
Okay,
paying.
let me cut you off because that's not the reason we're doing it. The reason we're doing it is the current facility is wholly inadequate as a court. Okay, it is not built to be a court. It is built to be an office building. Has glass partitions. There are multiple doors and entries. And so what happens sometimes is our security station is in front of one door. Well, people see it's glass walls. They see somebody coming up. They go and open another door and these people come in past the security, bypass.
Yeah, I get it. In other words,
Okay,
they can get beyond the metal
Let me
detector
finish,
and that sort of
please.
thing.
Let me finish. In addition, when a perpetrator is brought in, and sometimes these arraignments, they are dangerous perpetrators. When they are brought in, the only way to get them in is through the clerk's area. So we're walking them past the desks of the court clerks who work there. In addition, there is no holding cell. We have a sturdy bench that we have to chain handcuff them to. But one of the other problems is, oh, by the way, the door doesn't have a bar cell so you can see inside.
Mm.
And so should one of them get loose and the deputy goes in to get them, they could be ambushed. In addition, the judge's chambers are right off the court. So if court is in session and a judge needs to go to their chambers, they can't, not without interrupting court. And finally, we only have a single court today. And so what has happened on multiple occasions, if we have a trial case going on and an arraignment comes in, we have to suspend the trial, send the jury into their box, send all the people out, bring in the arraignment, do the arraignment, then go back to the trial. So this new court would also add a second court. So that's really the reason we're doing this. But in trying to do that, we want to do this in a way that doesn't impact the taxpayers for their property taxes. And that's what we're doing.
But my concern is I don't want to see, okay, anything else for the next 3 years.
Ain't gonna happen.
I certainly hope not. I'm taking your word on that.
No, I mean, I'm not going to not build in the next 3 years. So
What do you
we're
mean
gonna be-
not build? I don't understand.
Okay, finish your statement. You were gonna say you don't want
I
to see
mean,
anything
what I
built in
mean
the
is,
next 3 years.
I'm talking about, this leads into my presentation later, but the point is pursuant to section 1200 of the New York State tax law, real property tax law, aside from any type of comparative assessments, that law clearly states that any type of equalization or 100% market value, market survey that has to be done, where assessments are done to get 100% market value, can only be done once every 3 years. So
Okay,
my point is very simple, that I don't want to see another inflated assessment go up because the town decides they need a court, just like they did back in
so
2000.
I'm gonna
Let me
cut you
finish.
off because you're way off topic here, and changing assessments does not increase the amount of tax we collect.
When
I've
the
told you-
taxable assessed
No,
value goes
No,
up,
you're done. You're done.
you're not letting me finish. You're not even letting me
Because you're
finish what I'm
off
gonna say.
topic.
But I'm not, because when
are.
you multiply the tax, even if the tax rate stays.
Okay, I'm gonna give you a warning. You keep it up. I'm calling the sheriff. I'm gonna have you escorted out of here. You cannot disrupt the business.
I'm
of-
not
that
disrupting.
You are. Please sit down. Your objection is noted. Any other discussion regarding the court? And specifically the court?
Mike Stafford, 32 Essex Drive, all in favor of the court, build a new courtroom house. This town needs it. We pay outrageous amount for rent. He obviously doesn't understand that. It's insecure. So yes, this town residents all in favor of a new court. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Anything online? Okay, come on up.
Marie Rist. It's not that fully say no to the court. Once you erect this court, who pays the repair costs? Who pays the roof costs when you have to get it repaired? Plumbing, anything like that? It's the town payer or taxpayers here, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so why would we not understand that this will cost more to us taxpayers?
It won't.
You just said it does. What are you talking about? You're talking two ways. I just asked you one question and you said it will. And then I said,
No,
"So
no,
you're saying
it
no,
won't.
no, don't cut me off. You can do that to Mr. Hirsch all you want. I have a recording on here from when you
You
had a
can
discussion.
record
with
all
the
you
board.
want. You just
So-
cut me off.
I don't care. You cut me off first. I said, who repairs the roofs?
We
The
do.
plumbing? No, I asked if the taxpayers do.
We
You
do.
said yes.
Yes,
Okay, so this is a taxpayer.
it doesn't cost.
That's why
Okay,
when you
just
say
stop.
that,
Let me answer
you're
you.
interrupting me. Let me finish what I'm saying.
Excuse me, ma'am.
No. You've been smirking your whole time. He was talking.
This,
It is my turn to speak, please.
the supervisor is
I
the
just
chairman
want
of
to
the
make my
board
point without being
and is
disrupted.
allowed to organize.
I
how the-
understand
how
that.
the
I have
speaking
one
is to
question,
happen
ma'am.
And how. the
I'm
speak-
trying to clarify a question.
Ma'am, you need to lower your tone.
If you want
and
me to
speak
lower
the-
it, stop
and-
speaking
and-
over me.
And speak to the council.
Can you hear me okay now?
You need to
Can
lower
you
your
hear
tone
me okay now?
And speak to the council.
Can you hear me
respectfully.
okay? I'm trying to talk to the council.
You have
So,
1 minute
Mr.
to wrap
Schultz,
up, please.
One question, please. You already said that the taxpayers are going to pay the cost for the repairs, correct? So, yes, I'm disruptive, so I'm trying to ask a question. Maybe you guys can answer it for me. If we're doing taxes and the taxpayers are paying taxes, is that the thing that all of us are paying for the town or is certain people paying for the town? Is who pays the taxes for this?
Okay, can you let me
repairs?
answer your question? The
That's
reason,
what I was asking, but you kept interrupting me.
no, you keep interrupting me. I've been trying to
Okay.
answer your question. The reason it costs less is because right now, who pays for the repairs of the current rental facility? Ultimately, the taxpayers do because it's through the rent. Okay, so the fact that we're not paying rent brings that cost down tremendously. In addition, when we do this, we cannot get, for instance, a SAM grant, a state aid to municipality grant to pay rent. However, we can get them to pay for improvements. So for instance, when we just redid the west wing of this town hall,
Okay,
we got that money from New York State through a SAM grant through the work of our assembly member, Harry Bronson. And so it did not come out of any of it. Not one penny of it came out of real property taxes. It came out of either the SAM grant or through the collection of building permit fees.
okay, well, that was
Okay,
my
and
question
so-
to you to begin with.
Well, this is when you said, is it going to cost more? And I said, no, it will not. Okay, there
That's
is
not
a
what I said,
cost.
but okay.
There is a cost associated with maintenance and upkeep. Absolutely. It is less than we are paying in rent.
I understand that.
Okay,
And that's why I was trying to ask the question, but Ms. Stefanik kept interrupting
No.
me to ask you a question.
Ms.
And that's when you got
Sofranic
on the
was
phone.
asking
So
you
I'm
to
just
lower
asking
your
you,
tone.
that's what I wanted to hear. So that's all it was my question. Understood? Okay, are you happy? Good.
well, see, when I tried to answer that, you kept interrupting me and then
Because
you
I
started to
had
yell
you.
at us. Okay, whatever. We're done. Anyone else? Anyone online? Then hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Safranic,
Aye.
Councilmember Bolsner,
Aye.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Belanca,
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye,
Just to clarify, that was the seeker approval?
that was a seeker approval. Oh, thanks. Fellow board members, and this is a related resolution. I have resolution 18-245, 2022 to authorize the general obligation serial bonds to finance the construction of a new town court facilities, the issuance of bond anticipation notes, the expenditures of funds, and the associated contracts and matters.
Seconded.
So again, these are essentially are together. I'm not going to repeat all the discussions we just had. I will note that per the bond council's recommendation, we are authorizing bond anticipatory notes. Even though I explained to him, there's no reason we would ever take out a bond anticipatory note because we have enough. We still have, in addition to these allocations, there's still about 1.5 million of ARPA funds left that are going to be used for other projects down the road that we could use for the short-term financing. So there'd be no reason for us to go out and get a loan and pay interest on it. But he said it's pretty boilerplate. You just don't ever want to be in a position where you need it and you don't have it. So even though we're authorizing it, the anticipation is that we will not use it at all. And again, the goal is to not use the do the bonding at all either, because if we have enough revenue coming in from the sales tax and mortgage tax revenues, then we would not seek a bond for this. But again, you have to approve it, and the process is a lengthy process. If we don't start it now and we end up needing it for the construction, we'd never be able to get it done in time. So. Yes.
You call them.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I just didn't know if you wanted to say something, or I'll step up outside in a moment. So I'm going to take a brief recess while I go and speak to the deputies.
Yeah. Finish the resolution.
We can. Is there any discussion beyond what happened at the discussion from the previous motion or resolution? Okay. Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Safranik,
I did. Yeah.
Aye.
Councilmember Bolsner,
Aye.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Belanca,
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye. Okay, I'm gonna take a brief break while I go talk to the deputies.
Hi, Mike. Good, how are you?
Unmute us. Unmute. Okay.
Okay. Sorry for the brief interruption.
Mr. Supervisor and fellow board members, I have resolution number 18-246, 2022, to authorize the town to participate in the NICLAS program.
Seconded.
Any discussion? So for those unaware, it's a group of, it's an investment, very safe investment that New York State allows municipalities to invest in. So again, they had aforementioned $4 million for ARPA funds. Right now, they're in certificate of deposits, which is, you can imagine, CDs aren't paying very much. As I've put it in the workshop, CDs are paying next to nothing. At least the New York class pays next to nothing. So it's
Not sure.
more, but it's still
Sure
not.
how good next to nothing is, but.
Yeah, it's better. I mean, it arguably is about double the interest, but it's like going from, 0.5 to 1. So,
It's that high.
right. So. Any comments?
Nope.
Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Safranik,
Aye.
Councilmember Bolzner,
Aye.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Belanca,
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz and fellow board members, I have resolution number 18-247, 2022, to adopt the 2023 fee schedule.
Second.
Any discussion? So again, we switched to adopting the fee schedule now instead of at the end of the year because the fee schedule is taken into account in our budgeting process. So it makes more sense to do them now so that we use the proper fees when doing our budgeting. Not a whole lot of changes. The commercial building special use permit application fee has gone up. Not a whole lot of others. Hearing no further discussion, please call the roll.
Councilmember Safranik,
Aye.
Councilmember Bolzner,
Aye.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Belanca.
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye.
Mr. Supervisor and fellow town board members, I have resolution number 18-248, 2022, to authorize the supervisor to sign an out-of-district sewer use agreement with Matthew and Kathleen McNamara for their property located at 1521 Lehigh Station Road.
Second.
Any discussion? So again, out-of-district sewer user agreement, that's easier to do than to create or extend a district. They follow essentially the same rules of somebody in a district, but this is typically where there was a district nearby, there's a house, they pay to have their lateral extension to that other district. We just add them. It's a lot simpler, less cost for the town as well as less cost for the homeowner. So any questions, any discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Safranik,
Aye.
Councilmember Bolzner,
Aye.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Belanca.
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye.
Mr. Supervisor, fellow town board members, I have resolution 18-249, 2022, to authorize change order number 1 for increased costs to the Chiltern Road Drainage Improvement Project due to the replacement of concrete gutters due to location of the existing water main.
Second. So as it mentions, the water main was not where it was purported to be. This required us to divert the location of the storm sewer, which forced us to remove more gutters than expected. So the removal of that gutter and the reinstallation of that gutter is what caused the additional charges. Any questions? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Safranik,
Aye.
Councilmember Bolzner,
Aye.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Belanca.
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye. Fellow board members, I have resolution 18-250, 2022 to authorize the installation of traffic control signs on East River Road at Fairwood Drive and on Fairwood Drive.
Seconded.
So as part of the work being done on East River Road, they're adding a turn lane, a center turn lane in that area. And they're adding the new signs. The new signs have to be adopted by the town in order to be prosecuted for people who violate those signs. Any questions? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Safranik,
Aye.
Councilmember Bolsner,
Aye.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Blanca,
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye.
Mr. Supervisor and fellow board members, I have resolution number 18-251, 2022, to declare items surplus materials from the Henrietta Public Library.
Seconded.
Any discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Safranik,
Aye.
Councilmember Bolsner,
Aye.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Blanca,
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz and fellow board members, I have resolution number 18-252, 2022. Whereas the Henrietta Public Library Friends and Foundation Incorporated has donated $200 to the Henrietta Public Library in memory of Rachel Axelrod for the acquisition of children's books. And whereas a check in the amount of $200 was received by the library director. Therefore, be it resolved that the Henrietta Town Board acknowledges this donation and thanks the Henrietta Public Library Friends and Foundation Incorporated for their generosity.
Second.
Any discussion?
I just think that's a wonderful way to honor a loved one is through ongoing books that are going to be loved and enjoyed by the community. I think that's a beautiful way to honor someone.
I agree. Anything else? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Safranik,
Aye.
Councilmember Bolsner,
Aye.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Blanca.
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye.
Mr. Supervisor and fellow board members, I have resolution number 18-253/2022. Whereas Henrietta Pride have donated $112 to the Henrietta Public Library for the acquisition of materials by and about the LGBTQ plus people. And whereas cash in the amount of $112 was received by the library director, therefore be it resolved that the Henrietta Town Board acknowledges this donation and thanks Henrietta Pride for their generosity.
Second.
So, unfortunately, some books like this disappear from the library. And so, knowing that, the group during the Pride celebration did a number of fundraisers to raise money to essentially replace those books. So,
Well, and I know last year when I was assisting with the planning of the Pride event, I spoke to numerous young people in Henrietta, and they all expressed how important it is to them to see representation in the books that they're reading, and that they really wanted to see more LGBTQ plus books in the library. So I was very moved when Henrietta Pride said that's what they were planning on doing this year.
I agree. It was a great idea.
Mhm.
Anything else? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Safranik,
Aye.
Councilmember Bolsner,
Aye.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Blanca.
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye.
Mr. Supervisor, fellow town board members, I have resolution 18-254, 2022. Whereas the Henrietta Public Library Friends and Foundation Incorporated has donated $155 to the Henrietta Public Library for the July anniversary celebration. And whereas a check in the amount of $155 was received by the library director, therefore be it resolved that the Henrietta Town Board acknowledges this donation and thanks Henrietta Public Library Friends and Foundation, Inc. for their generosity.
Second. So again, thank you. This group does a whole lot for the library and raises a lot of funds. Very happy with what they do for our town.
I was sad that I couldn't be there on the day of the anniversary celebration. I certainly remember the moving of the book that I think most of us participated in when we moved from the old library to the new library. But unfortunately, other obligations kept me away.
If you ever want to be dizzy, watch the footage. I had,
Oh, from the book.
I had bought a GoPro and I had strapped it to the book. And it's actually really neat. It'd be one, I'd love to find somebody who would love to edit it down, because some of the messages, people would grab the book and they would say something about, like Chris Martin, his, when he was, I think, a Boy Scout, he helped move the books into the old library. But there were a lot of people relating stories like that about their tie to the old library, or this west wing of town hall was originally a library. So
Yeah. I remember I've lived in Henrietta since I was 2. So I remember when we used to go downstairs to the library and then over when that one opened up, how excited we were. And now this one. And I was fortunate enough to be at the celebration. I took my grandkids and we met Piggy and Elephant and they were so excited. Oh my golly. And I have to tell you, Adrian and the children's librarian, I actually have a videotape of it that I'm going to share at the library board because it was hysterical, because they reenacted one of the books. It was the funniest thing. They were dressing up and squeaking and making silly noises, and it was hysterical. So I did record a whole book reading to share, Adrian, at the library board meeting on Tuesday, so they can see how funny it was. It was just amazing. So they do a great job.
they do.
They do.
That library is a well-oiled machine that runs. The customer satisfaction and the service you get there is just incredible.
Yep.
Any comments from the public? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Safranek,
Aye.
Councilmember Bolsner,
Aye.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Blanca,
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye. Fellow board members, I have resolution 18-255, 2022 to hire personnel and make the attached changes.
Seconded.
Any discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Safranek,
Aye.
Councilmember Bolster,
Aye.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Blanca,
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye.
Mr. Supervisor and fellow board members, I have resolution number 18-256, 2022 to adopt local law number 15 of 2022 to implement regulations regarding fires and open burning.
Seconded.
Any discussion beyond what we had during the public hearing? Actually, I do remember a second change that we did make from the initial law to the one that we're voting on now. We had originally had in there that the I thought that the fire chief for the fire district could put eyes on it, but the attorneys for the fire district made it clear that that was not the case. And so we removed that individual from the list of people who could essentially enforce the chapter. That was never the intention. The fire district would enforce the stuff, but just that if they view it, they could essentially report it as one of those, cases that would then come to code enforcement who would enforce it. But the attorneys for the fire district made it clear that that can't be the case. Any other discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Safranek,
Aye.
Councilmember Bolsner,
Aye.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Blanca,
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye. That concludes our resolutions. Do we have additional discussion items or comments from the public?
Good evening, Stephen Town Board members. I was online recently and I found some interesting information that the town board is now getting sued for their decision to, from 3 of them to base Planned Parenthood on religious and moral issues. So I know you can't talk about ongoing litigation. So just as a town resident, kind of upset our town taxes will be used for defending that. With that being said, I was curious about our deductible now. I remember prior to 2017, the then town board, Councilman Page and his teammates at the time, raised the deductible up to $100,000. When Steve was putting off the town board at the time, reduced that back to 25,000. Just curious now that Republicans are running the town board again, if they have raised it again, or it is currently still 25,000.
We have not changed the deductible.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Any committee or miscellaneous reports from the board?
I do. So we actually had a meeting yesterday, and I don't know if everybody remembers, but Color Me Henrietta art contest that we had last year. People supply artwork, and what we use is we use the artwork each month. We change out the website with the artwork. And so we're starting that again. And the artwork is used to highlight the website. So we're looking for featured artists for every month for next year. We're asking that you go, you can start downloading your submissions as of August 15th, 2022 through October 15th, 2022. And last year, what ended up happening is the website gives information as to how you should download your submission. A lot of people downloaded it incorrectly, so we couldn't use their artwork, which was really a shame because we got some beautiful things. So if there's any questions on how to download it, if you're downloading it properly, Adrian at the library said, just call into the library and set something up with one of the tech tutors. They can assist you to make sure that it's downloaded properly. It's really neat to see the artwork that the people in the town can submit. And last year we had one gentleman that did a lot of it, which was really nice. We were able to put that out and we did recognize everybody. But think a little outside of the box also. You could just do a montage of things. We like to pick one for each month. So even if you think about the months, what you see, or, one of the things I said is we never got any submissions for the 4th of July fireworks, and we do beautiful fireworks here. So it'd be nice if somebody had something that recognized that, or something that recognized, different events that go on in the town. So you have August 15th to October 15th to submit those. One other thing is at the library tomorrow night, if you're a sci-fi buff, Ed Ashton, who is actually a Henrietta resident, will be speaking there, and he wrote a book called Mickey 7. So, look into that on the website, sign up and go listen to him speak.
Thank you.
I attended the Rush Henrietta School Board meeting. Andy is the interim superintendent now, and I believe I'm going tomorrow as well to the next Tuesday to the school board meeting. And the interim superintendent, I believe, I forgot her name. She was at Spencerport, I believe, will take over at that first meeting. And they did hire a professional group to help and assist with the search for the new superintendent. And things seem to be going well at the school.
Good. Upcoming events right now through the Parks and Recreation Department. Farmers Market and Summer Concert Series continues on Friday evenings through August 19th at Veterans Memorial Park. Market hours are 4 p.m. to 7:30. The concert starts at 6:30. And this week's entertainment is Flint Creek, a country band with a kick. There is a kids fishing derby that's going to be held this Saturday, August 6th at Martin Road Park from 8 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. It is sponsored by the Eli Fagan American Legion Post 111. It is free and open to kids ages 4 to 14, but pre-registration is required. Bring your own bait and pole, hot dog lunch, and awards will be provided. And to register, go to henriettarec.org. Also this Saturday, August 6th, Wild Tinker will be held at Tinker Nature Park from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. It's going to be live animal presentations from Wild Wings, the Zoomobile, and Prehistoric World. There will also be music, food trucks, and children's activities. And mark your calendar for the movie In the Park on Friday, August 26th at the Amphitheater in Veterans Memorial Park. The featured film will be Sing 2. Children's activities start at 7 and the movie begins at 8:30.
Can I say something about the concerts? So the concerts on Friday night with the, I'm sorry, I'm trying to think of what you said, the farmer's market if you haven't gone, go check it out. It's really cool. I've been going, sitting on the hill with friends, just listening to the music. It's really awesome. And the farmer's market is not just produce. There's people there with cakes and cookies, really good cookies, I have to say. There was a local author that was there. There's people with different crafts. It's just really a good mixture. So check it out. It's really a nice thing to have in our town. And if you have nothing to do on a Friday night, it's just a couple hours out in nice weather with other town members.
As part of the consolidated funding application process, we submitted 2 applications. One was for a local waterfront revitalization program grant to do the design and engineering work for the Canal Side Park and Towpath Village. For those unaware, the canal actually Erie Canal does come through Henrietta, the northeast corner. The land to the north of canal is currently owned by JCC, and they've been talking about creating the planned unit development. We have one planned unit development in town already. It's Riverton, but it'd be similar in that there would be some, a master plan for parks, for park, residential, commercial, civic space. The plan we're doing, so they're doing that master planning. We're doing the master plan for the park itself. The Towpath Village, the easiest way to think of that is Shone Place, where there is that dock or pier where you can pull a boat up. There's benches, picnic tables, and then some restaurants. So that's what we're looking to do. Again, that would be through the LWRP plan. And so hopefully we'll be successful in that. And then the second one we did was for a New York State DEC. It's the Climate Smart Community Grant, and it is to build a vermiculture compost site. For those who aren't familiar, vermiculture composting uses worms to break down the organic material. The turnover rate is much, much faster than traditional composting. In addition to producing the mulch, it also produces this highly organic, they call it tea. But it's the liquid outputs from that and works as a phenomenal liquid fertilizer. And so the plan is that we would build the site, the facility at the location of the Middle Road location of our former fill site. In addition to the compost facility there, we would move our leaf and brush drop off there. That does 2 things. One, it's a more centralized location for the people in the town. And the second thing is then we can use that leaf and brush and add that to the compost material to produce a better mulch. So the cost of when we looked at it, the cost of the tanks itself were too expensive for us to do. In addition, there were some questions about how we would operate. So ultimately what we decided to do is we're gonna, again, we're seeking the state aid to help build the facility itself, but we would essentially we would trench the 4 tanks, or the 4 trenches where the tanks would go, and we would go out to bid for a company to come in, pay to install the tanks and operate the tanks. And then through that, we would look at, programs in terms of, we've already spoken with Impact Earth, who would, they collect, they basically have buckets. You put your compost in the bucket, they come and pick them up and drop them off. We'd also set it up where any resident in Henrietta could come and drop their compost off for free if they prefer to do it that way. We've had initial discussions with RIT that they would contribute. They say they have a lot of waste material and they have a very strong interest. They'd rather support our effort than build their own. And so, we think we'll have a lot of strong support, and therefore, essentially that will operate at I'll call it revenue positive. So hopefully we'll get that grant. We'll see. If you've never done a CFA application before, you're lucky because they're for the community, the Climate Smart Community Grant. It was over 100 questions and we had to produce 42 documents to upload. It's amazing anybody ever, small towns ever get any of these because the amount of work that has to go into it is just astronomical. The LWRP was greater. We actually turned to our consultants who are helping us with the current plan to help put that together. So a lot of effort, thanks to Craig Eckert, Pat W. I can't come up with the last name at the moment, but our chair of our sustainability committee, as well as a whole host of people who volunteered and helped got us information. I will say in terms of the going to that outside vendor, there is the Nardozzi companies built a similar facility in Geneva. I discussed with them to see if this arrangement, they'd be willing to do this arrangement. They did say they would certainly respond to that bid. So we should, if we get the grant and go out to bid, we should have at least one company that's willing to do that. And again, they basically would be, they'd be paying to put the tanks in and they'd be paying to operate. Our revenues would have come from either rent or tipping fees. So we'll see what happens. So anything else? Any other reports? Then we're going to go into executive session regarding matters regarding the employment of a particular person. Our intention is to adjourn straight from executive session. So it will end the minutes or excuse me, end the transmission upon adjourning to executive session. Any other questions, comments? Can I get a motion to adjourn to executive session?
So moved. I'll second.
Perfect.
Oh, I didn't hear.
Yep, you said it in
At the
perfect
same time.
unison. Hearing no objections, then meeting adjourned to executive session.